afternoon, everyone. It's Robin here from Triple Ace Games, and we're back to play another session of The Sky Is No Limit with my friends Anthony, Ivan, and Eli. We are about to get stuck into this adventure again. Just wanted to quickly say that we are running a Kickstarter right now for a very cool set of Egyptian-style dice for any particular tabletop game that you might be playing that has an Egyptian theme. You can check out the link in the description for this video, and hopefully you'll come and pledge and help us make these dice. So I'm just going to hand over to Eli here to take us through last week. Well, the last session wasn't last week because real life got in the way. A hurricane got in the way, in fact. So yeah, we're back here again. So Eli, please take it away.
Okay, so previously on The Sky Is No Limit, our crew had been, our ship had crashed down on the jungles of Brazil, and we made the decision to leave Oscar, our scientist, to salvage what he could from the ship and build skiffs for us to travel through the Amazon River on our quest for the lost plateau of the dinosaurs. While this happened, the rest of the crew set off to the nearby city of Belém for the purposes of, multiple purposes really, to get Lawrence, one of our intrepid chemist, really, which has been his main role so far, to the hospital to receive long-term medical care for his injuries during the crash. And we also wanted to procure supplies for the journey now that our ship has crashed. We made the trek across the jungle and came to the city. We took Lawrence to a hospital to recover, and the rest of us, well, George, really, my character, began to prepare a defense of the troops that had defended us on the beach against a giant tyrannosaur or pteranodon. And that's basically what we did. George spoke to the magistrate. He had the opportunity to blame, rightfully so, Lieutenant Credenza, but he didn't. He chose to instead sort of deflect the blame and clear the name of the soldiers, but at the same time not throw the lieutenant under the bus, so to speak. So he is kind of well disposed to us now. Meanwhile, Lawrence was recuperating in the hospital room in the same wing of the hospital, or the same space where the two survivors from the original expedition, the original discoverers of the plateau, lie in delirium from their experience of the jungle. We suspect it has to do with the poison. But anyway, while Lawrence is there convalescing, he is attacked by what we surmise to be more of the jungle people dressed as dinosaurs, right? Climbing up the sides of the hospital and trying to come in through the window. But thanks to the quick thinking and valiant actions of Procter and Gamble, which consisted mainly of Procter running away to alert everybody else, valiantly running away to raise the alarm, while Gamble approached the window and managed to beat off the attacker, and thus ensuring that Lawrence survives the experience. While all this is going on, I mean, this causes the once they get back together, right? Once the George comes back to visit Lawrence, they realize that they're being attacked by the same people, and makes them wonder what is happening back at the crashed ruins of the Epiphany. So they immediately set about trying to return to the Epiphany to lend assistance, but that journey will take 3 days. Now, in the meanwhile, Oscar is back at the Epiphany conducting his calculations and planning and design of the new hovercraft skiffs, scraping some of the anti-gravity paint, and the plan is to have them hover over the water and speed us on our way. And while he is doing that, the Epiphany is attacked. Stephen Flynn, our pugilist stevedore that we picked up originally in first or second session of the game, notices one of the attackers coming in, another of the reptile people from the jungle. He manages to shoot the intruder, but also gets hit with one of the poison darts and proceeds to die. But fortunately, he did get the intruder, who dies as well, but the cries of fire are raised in the ship. So apparently, there's more than one attacker, and they have managed to set the ship on fire. And I believe that's where we left off.
That is where we left off, with the exception, of course, that John St. John Smythe, attaché to the crown, woke up in his comfortable bed in Berlin just before we faded to black. All right. We have cries of fire echoing through the ship. We have George Mallory trudging through the jungle. And we have Lawrence Garibaldi convalescing in safety in the hospital in Berlin. Where should we start?
Well, convalescing doesn't sound very exciting to start with, but
that's right. All right.
I think I've got a name for the inventions, the floating,
the skiffs.
The skiffs, the anti-gravity Wankel rotary steam speedsters.
Nice. All right.
Is that long enough for you?
I don't know.
I can work on it.
Headed in the right direction, anyway.
Okay.
Hours.
All right. Okay. In the hospital in Berlin, Edmund Burke and his Batman and other off-duty members of the small contingent of British soldiers that your journey to Berlin has kept out of the stockade, right? Some of them have been maintaining watch over your room and maintaining watch over the hospital, to ensure that there are no more attacks on you or the two survivors of the previous expedition. So it is with a certain degree of safety that Lawrence can, settle into his fluffy pillows in the oppressive heat under his mosquito netting, right, and try to recover. As boring as it might be to be trapped there, imagining, George's slow progress through the jungle and whatever has happened back at the Epiphany. And the following morning after George's departure, Lawrence receives a visitor in a perfectly pressed uniform, medals polished, right? Creases sharp enough to cut cheese. Impossible mustache waxed within an inch of its life. Lieutenant Armbruster Credenza arrives with a photographer, a stenographer, and a picnic basket.
To try to grab my hospital pajamas, I imagine, gowns, pajamas, and straighten them as much as possible. Collar, puffing my pillow up, sitting. Oh, yes. Lieutenant Hidalgo, yes, good. Hello. Come on in.
So he brushes aside the lack of familiarity with his name, and he gives you the very long, almost political handshake while the photographer sets up the camera and tries to take their shot. He pauses dramatically with a stern yet somehow pleasant look on his face until the photographer signals that the moment has been captured. But there's an aide in the hallway talking to the doctor about, is it possible to move the bed so better lighting? So they may want to recreate these shots later on during their stay.
I say, what's all this?
Well, I'm so worried about your health, the safety of your expedition, of course, being my responsibility. I wouldn't want anything to befall you, and I understand that some oversights of the local constabulary allowed some dangers to happen, but rest assured, with my personal attention, you will be safer than the crown jewels.
It's not exactly reassuring, but what else do I owe this visit to? And what's in the basket? What have you brought?
Well, I understand that you might be missing some tastes of home. And so for your companions who are watching over you, I have brought some fantastic sandwiches, namely, using my dear mother's recipe, watercress sandwiches that you might enjoy.
Watercress here? Where the heck did you find water?
With, of course, some caviar.
Nice.
I'm sure Lawrence was Lawrence American? I'm pretty sure Lawrence
No,
was.
no, we're all British.
Oh, we're British. Okay, yeah. So, yeah.
You can tell from our accents.
Exactly.
No comment.
Okay.
So he's plying you with food and with drink, and every few minutes he adjusts his body awkwardly so that he's lined up with the camera. And the doctor's saying, no, the bed can't be moved. The man is convalescing. Can't you people leave? Let the man sleep. But
and so, what's all the photography for?
oh, never mind them. That's not important.
Oh no, it's quite important. They need to get the spelling of my name correct. And of course, I would need to talk to them as and let them know what's happening.
Well, I don't think that's necessary.
Yes, sir.
I believe.
Come here. I do need to talk.
Well, how charming are you in your current condition?
Well, let's see. Well, I don't have any charm, so to speak. I've got a charisma of 2, but of course I have -2 at the moment.
So right now we're working on a 0. Do you have a skill that might help you out here?
Well, let's see.
Diplomacy.
The closest I've got is performance. Performance at a 3. That's about it. And that's not even 4 years ago. No.
I'm thinking that as motivated as Lawrence is to get their attention, the poison still has him firmly in its grasp, leaving him with 0 dice to roll.
Hey, boy.
And so, after being trampled politically and used for the aggrandizement of someone who doesn't deserve it, you're left alone with a very large, lovely picnic basket filled with champagne, caviar, and watercress sandwiches that proceed to wilt quickly unless eaten.
Watercress sandwiches. Well, I like watercress sandwiches. Caviar.
But meanwhile, in the jungle, the lion is not sleeping tonight.
Oh.
George Mallory, could you remind us who is... Could you remind us who is in your entourage as you make your way back to the Epiphany?
It's kind of interesting because I sort of forgot who I took along. I was thinking maybe like a small contingent of guards, like some volunteers from the, given that we had, that George just got them off the hook with the magistrate, I would imagine that a few of those, got, may have volunteered to accompany George, because we're expecting an attack upon the ruins of the Epiphany. I think we would have left Procter and Gamble with Lawrence.
I think so.
It's sort of, yeah. Yeah, so
It's like
Right,
just saying
Edmund,
that-
Edmund Burke was keeping all of his crew.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for
and
is,
so Tanvir probably is with us. Tanvir Singh.
you had mentioned that you wanted to leave Tanvir.
Oh, did I? Oh, so maybe I left him to protect Lawrence. That must have been it. Yeah.
Right.
So maybe maybe we could brought the porters along then and left him. I don't know. Whatever.
I was thinking when I heard that Tanvir might not want to follow that kind of order. Like he's with
Okay.
you. So while you might say you should stay here, and say no, I'm going to stay with you, kind of situation. But
Okay.
let's see how persuasive you are at getting some of these soldiers to use up their leave to
try
come with you.
to go back to the jungle. Yeah. So I will.
How would
use
you like to approach that?
I would like to use diplomacy instead of intimidation, because I'm not barking orders at them.
Yeah.
I am asking for volunteers. And so that's a diplomacy of 3, but I do have some fame because of the recent events.
Yes, indeed.
So that gives me 2 extra dice. And I don't know if the Royal Geographical Society bonus applies.
They
I don't
do
think so,
not
because these
care.
are, yeah. Okay. 6 is good. 6 is good.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong with 6 dice?
Whoa.
And I would spend some style, except I have no style. So here we go. Ooh. 2, 3 successes, the average. Imagine that.
All right. Those dice work. You should keep those. All right. So with 3 successes, that's a complete success. Yes. So let's take a look at it as from the idea that you're going to have a squad of 4 going with you.
Okay.
All right. So it's you, Tanvir, and 4 British soldiers who are not in the good graces of Lieutenant Credenza, which
They
means
might be
they're
competent.
probably pretty good men.
Yeah.
Like,
They're competent. Yes, exactly. All right. Meanwhile, in the jungle, the mighty jungle, as I said, the lion is not sleeping. And so, under the oppressive heat of day, one of the soldiers, a young man by the name of Phillips, clears his throat and says, "Mr. Mallory, sir."
What is it, Phillips?
"We're being followed."
Followed? Is it men from Belem, or is it
I'm not sure.
some sort of creature in the jungle? Then we should set a small ambush. Take the rest of the men and move ahead. And I will conceal myself in this position and wait to see what's following us. So I will ready my rifle and take position, probably looking for some slightly elevated position, but still concealed, right, in order to observe what's
Let's
what
see
is
how
following us.
well the group can accomplish this concealment using stealth.
Which would be an excellent skill to possess, but unfortunately, I don't have. So
Then I will consider survival, but I'll make it at a higher difficulty.
yeah, survival's good.
Okay. So your difficulty is going to be 3.
Ooh. Well, I do have a 6 at survival, so I could take the average. and just position myself
Yeah.
adequately. I mean, it's pretty standard, I suppose, looking for
You got to cover.
place to hunt and stuff
What
like
can
that.
possibly go wrong?
All right. And so your men take up position, right? And the waiting game begins. And the sounds become audible to not just the very sharp-eared and perceptive Phillips. The sounds become audible to the rest, very cautious, very quiet, interrupted, not like an animal's steady movement through the underbrush, sometimes pausing to listen, but more like someone intentionally breaking their rhythm. Begins to seem more and more like it must be a person. And then Phillips very lightly taps you on the shoulder and indicates with the muzzle of his rifle the direction to look. And there you can just barely discern another one of the reptilian-clad small people. And you catch them in the act of signaling with his hand or her hand.
Signaling, not good. That means there's more of them in the woods. So how do I want to handle this ambush?
It's a good question. But meanwhile, back at the Epiphany, an alarm has been raised. Fire. Can I have a perception check, please, from Oscar and from Grover?
All right. Where are you, buddy? Hold on a second. I don't know. How many dice should Grover roll for perception?
Well, George knows. Let's have George take on the role of Grover.
All right.
I got 4 successes.
5.
4 successes, 5 successes. All right.
No, hang on. That's a 5. The score is.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You're not gonna believe it. That's 5 successes.
Whoa!
Listen, the man has to be ready at any moment to see to my needs.
He's completely alert. Making sure that.
Exactly.
Those dice are cooking today.
Okay. Now, Ivan, we'll have you take on the role of Percy,
Oh, excellent.
who's in a real fit of pique because of the damage to his typewriter. He's been unable, right? He has to write everything out by hand. So he's up in the middle of the night, and now people are yelling fire. Yeah. So just imagine Percy as being 2s across the board.
Right.
So any skill use will be 4s, any attribute use will be 4s. Yeah, exactly.
running out with all the paperwork.
Couldn't save it.
So with Grover's finely tuned senses, he of course can smell smoke. And not like wood smoke, but chemical smoke. Like burning paint, burning fuel, burning who knows what. It's a bitter, dangerous scent, like from a factory or an engine room.
Yeah.
So I brush immediately off to find Oscar. And
well, you're there in the hallway together, remember?
That's right.
With Flynn. Yeah.
Do you smell that, Grover? I smell something.
It's I do believe that's a fire, possibly originating in the engine room. There's chemicals, and I must get the tea set and prepare to.
God damn! Leave the tea set. We need to get to the engine room and try and extinguish the flames.
We're not Evacuating? Well,
No.
of course.
We need the ship. We need the ship. So that's my aim, is to grab sand buckets and whatever's to hand, firefighting equipment. That we might have.
Person in the hall with all the papers like the engine room. We're going to the fire.
Drop that, Percy. We got to save the ship, man.
Stuffing the papers inside his shirt.
It's been a few days since the crash, which means it has been a few days for things like the sand buckets to be, righted and refilled after, the ship being upside down for a while and on its side. So for all of these safety measures to have been attended to would, of course, fall to Oscar's excellent expeditions skill. But he's been very busy with his planning, his head in the clouds, as it were. So we're going to give it a difficulty of 2, I'm afraid.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
So I'm going to take the average, which means I roll 1 of the dice because I have 5. So that's 3 successes.
Yeah. All right. Oscar has once again thought of everything, says the crew. As the alarm bell is ringing and people are coming in from different areas of the ship to try and douse the flames. Okay. Now the engine room is quite central. It's on middle decks, and it's in the middle of the ship along at midships. It's in the center of the center of the center of the ship.
I imagine there's like the smokestack runs through all the decks.
Right, or the ventilation stack, because with the electricity, it's not producing it.
Oh yeah, I guess, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course, Dr. Neslinger had built it as a ship of war, so those stacks can be repurposed to create a false cloud around the ship as a stealth device. But so yeah, right there under the stacks, if you remember what the Epiphany looked like. You're rushing into the fire. Is that what's going to happen?
I think it's worth trying to save the ship.
All right.
If it gets too hot to handle, maybe we have to run away, but let's try. Right.
So I think what this really comes down to is Oscar's ability to lead.
Right. Well,
that'd be a fine skill to have.
That would be a fine skill to have. Yeah. So, yeah.
Make me a pitch of an alternate skill that I can assign a ridiculously high difficulty to.
Yeah, I mean,
I was thinking of piloting.
Yeah, maybe sort of. That's probably the closest I can ever get. So maybe having knowledge of the ship and flying, and maybe I can persuade people on that fact. Understanding aviation and flying and that kind of thing, and saving the ship.
They've seen you in a position of authority, so it won't last. It's momentary. It's not something we can rely on outside of this peculiar set of circumstances. But with a difficulty of 3, you can give it a whirl. Look at that.
You want to go home someday, fellas? You want to be trapped here like Greeks outside Troy?
Okay. Here you go then.
6 person.
I got 3. 5 dice, 3 successes. Look at that. That's pretty cool.
Look at that.
Woo.
So that gives a 0 margin, which in Ubiquity is a minor success. So there's some chaos, right?
Yeah, it's not perfect.
There's some people who want to try a different strategy. There's some hesitation after they've thrown their bucket of sand. What do I do? But the effort to douse the flames begins. and a fire brigade is beginning to form. When, in the jungle, we find George Mallory and his crew in an ambush situation, setting up one of the reptile people.
They're wearing the same spiky armor?
Oh yeah, it's exact. It's easily identifiable.
Yeah.
In fact, it looks like the same person, except you know that the people that you've met, have, have either died or disappeared.
Don't grab them from behind. Trust me.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's why I'm asking for the spiky armor, because that means that is out of the question. And
So the men are looking to you for permission to shoot. As far as they know, their experience with these people has been minor on the ship, but they know it was directly reported that they attacked Lawrence in the hospital with lethal poison. So
yes, yeah. So I think we're done trying to talk to these people after repeated attempts. So what my concern is that we know there's more of them, but we only see one.
You only see one.
So because I am George, and George is a little bit overconfident. His plan is to. So I whispered quick instructions to Phillips and the rest of the crew. I will advance and present myself as a target to this man in an attempt to draw all eyes upon me, and in the hopes that the rest of the crew will identify where the rest of the guys are, right? Where the rest of the reptile men are, so that they can turn the ambush around, so to speak. And so this is my brilliant.
I'm going to do something that I have not yet done in Ubiquity, and then after this point, I'll never be able to say that I've never done it. I'm going to give 3 style points for that action.
Ooh. That's my expected success rate, I suppose. So what he's going to do is he's going to move out, right? So and pop up from cover with the gun leveled at the reptile man and say, "Hey, you," and see what wait to see what the guy does. And when he goes for his blowgun, I'm gonna blow him away.
All right. Well, let's see who gets to do what. Let's resolve to initiative here. All right. Could I have Oscar and Lawrence represent some of our valiant British soldiers?
Right.
Okay. We're going to put you together in, we've got 4 of them. We're going to put you in as 2 groups of 2, right? They're assisting each other. So you're going to be making 1 roll for the 2 guys. All right. So you'll be rolling 6 dice plus the firearms rating of, they're using their heavy carbines. So 3. So you've got a 9-die pool for your firearms.
Excellent.
Right. So remember that when you get to describing your action, you're narrating the attacks of 2 different people working together, like man and wingman kind of thing. Backing up George, you're left under cover. So if there is return fire, you have a lot of cover to boost your defense. We'll get to that if an attack is successful. George will have no cover, but he might have the element of surprise.
Here we go. Initiative roll is 4 successes, which is amazing.
Very nice. So George is going first.
Right. So I'll just.
How about the other 2? They would be rolling 4 dice for their initiative.
Well, my group is on 2.
My group is on 3.
Okay. So George, then simultaneous between Robin's group and the reptile guy, and then Ivan's group. Okay. George, you pop up and you shout. You have a moment of surprise.
And that's really bad news for him because I do have my elephant gun loaded and aimed at him. So we are about to see what an elephant gun looks like in action.
All right, Bungalow Bill. There we go.
So that is a total of...
You do know there's no elephants in South America.
5 and 6. That's
This is why.
11 dice. 11 dice. Here we go.
Hey.
4, 5. Oh, this is awful. Just 5 successes only in the
Man.
in the shot. Yeah.
Where did those dice go?
Okay. So just only 5.
It's about average, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. The elephant gun blows him back through the shrubbery, right? Disappearing, as he topples back in a spray of blood that projects out through the chest plate of the armor. Of course, the armor not designed for this type of projectile. Right? And very likely you've knocked him off his feet, but it's hard to tell because of the thick foliage.
Mm-hmm.
Depriving your left squad, this is Robin's squad, on the left, depriving them of a target as he's knocked back. And then there is the sound of fleeing feet, broken branches and from all around in a crescent shape behind his position, right? So you're facing in that direction. Saw him, you pop up, blow him back into the shrubbery, and then from somewhere behind his position, there's sounds of chaos and running, but no vocalizations. But on the Epiphany, Percy, poor Percy, sees a shadow creeping out of a porthole on the top of the ship, pulling something behind it. In the thick darkness of the night, it's impossible to see who the figure is and what's being pulled.
It's pulling in or pulling out?
Out, as if trying to escape with something out through the... Remember that the ship is, on an angle.
Right.
So up near the bow, where a lot of the destruction is. And of course, near where Oscar's stateroom is and the other main expedition members' stateroom is.
You there! Hey, look, somebody's taking something. Oscar! It's one of... I've got my bucket of sand, like, I'm looking at it like I'm going to throw it and realizing it weighs, a full, several stone, whatever that is, really. But I'm just...
So I'll turn and look in the direction that he's pointing at. I guess we have some kind of light source, like a lantern or something.
Right, like we don't have too much power left for that sort of thing, but the outlines of the ship are lit in the darkness, under the jungle canopy, so we can see the stars directly overhead. Yeah. And underneath the canopy of leaves, there's kind of a soft golden lantern-like glow, but there are many pools of darkness on all the different, sections of the ship, which is, not designed to be easily viewable. Yes.
And he's pulling something
out of a porthole. He's standing on the
side portholes.
Of the
ship. Okay, yeah.
Right. He came out through the porthole, which caught Percy's eye, and he's pulling something out.
I thought it was up the stack.
I was just thinking. I was just thinking about trying to, illuminate to see what he's got, what he's putting out.
The ability to throw light? No.
Okay.
So we have him in shadow.
So let's go. Let's try and grapple the thing that he's grabbed.
All right. A pursuit.
Yeah.
All right. Across the chaotic terrain of the Epiphany, canted on its side, and you notice that there's lots of airfoils and whatnot down its side, which have been bent and twisted out of shape and causing lots of consternation. So, a pursuit. You guys are starting a few meters behind. So you're starting in the hole of 4 successes. All right. So they're up 4, and you're at 0, or they're at 0, and you're down 4 successes. We're going to be using move to catch up, but the difficulty will be 2. This is an extended roll. You might catch them in the very first round because you've got awesome movement. Or
so we're at -4, and
let's say you've got 0 successes and they're starting out with 4 successes. Okay. You have to close that gap.
And
they'll still be having an opportunity to add more successes as they try to.
So I have a move of 5, so that would give me 5 dice, but -2 dice. Is that
-2 of the successes you roll because I've given it a difficulty of 2 because of the terrain?
Yeah. So I still roll the 5 dice. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Let's pursue.
Grover actually gets 3 successes on his 3 dice, so that means he gets 1 net. So
yep.
I only get 2 successes, so that's no net gain.
Right. So you're rolling as a group?
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
We could do that, and then we could pool add 2 dice to the largest move.
Okay, so maybe Robin add 2 dice from
everyone else.
To what you already rolled, and we'll forget Grover's roll. Yeah.
Okay. So just an extra 2 dice.
Yep. And what this represents is that you have more people than the one person who's trying to escape, so you're closing off other avenues of egress from the wreck.
So it's a net gain of no successes. So unfortunately, we failed to make any.
2 successes on 7 dice, man.
Yeah. They
probably weren't AAA games dice.
No, they were.
No, some competitors.
Some rubbish dice. Yeah.
All right. So our villain, if villain they are, have moved from this area of the ship most of the way to the bow. They're at the wreckage where the crane used to be, and they now have to figure out how to navigate that vast hole in the deck, which of course is canted on an angle. So it's very difficult to navigate, but they seem quite comfortable with using hands and feet, almost like they're used to navigating in a jungle setting. Who can say? And it's now obvious that they're wearing some kind of form-altering armor, which makes their head look peculiar. But in the darkness, it's difficult to see. But I mean, seriously, who else could it be? This tiny little figure in the darkness.
And we still have no idea what they're dragging?
We don't know what they're dragging. This is where we are by the engine compartment. And due to all of the debris in the area, and due to the chaos of the firefighting operation, where you have to push your way through the bucket brigade, you're off to a very slow start. And so you only make it to the end of this particular ducted fan.
Right.
So it feels like you haven't gotten anywhere. You're trying to push past everybody. Like, well, make up your mind. Do we want to go in the engine room or not?
Okay.
Okay.
So let's carry on chasing them.
All right. Now, I just want to throw in that at the end of the Epiphany scene in the previous session, Oscar had his crossbow, and he hasn't had time to dispose himself of it. So it is present in the scene.
Cool.
All right. Move again.
Right, this time it's going to be better. Yeah.
Come on, Grover, just push the bloke out of the way.
Oh, yes, 6 successes. So that's a net gain of 4.
A gain of 4, closing the original gap and leaving only the gap that they have created for themselves. But now they're dealing with this terrible, impassable terrain where the front of the Epiphany has been wrecked by loss of the crane and its motor and all that stuff. So we have a chance. They're within striking range. They have seen you now.
Right.
And you see what they have taken.
I was about to ask, can we see a bit more now?
Yeah. They are carrying a very long, because of their diminutive height, they're carrying a very long and bulky leather-bound case, which you recognize as being one of Edmund Burke's group's hunting weapons.
Ooh.
You know, very long, overpowered, rifle or shotgun. It's hard to say because it's in a case, right? And this case has this ammo container with it, which is why they're having such difficulty because the thing is longer than they are tall. Right? It's a very awkward burden for them.
The filthy little thieves. Okay. I might now pop off a crossbow bolt. Try to slow them down.
So you've got to ready the weapon. So this would be Oscar not pursuing while the rest continue. Or of course you could try and do it on the run.
What would be my negatives on that? Trying to do.
I would take 2 dice away from your move.
What do you think, chaps?
You had what score on your move score again? 5?
So I'm rolling 7 dice because I get a bonus from the other people.
But otherwise you'd be rolling 5, so it's not too bad. I think you might hit them. Right. Sounds good.
Yeah, and it's in genre, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's do that. Let's try and shoot this person at the same time.
Well, the shooting will take place next turn.
Okay. Okay, so I'll do the move roll.
There you go.
Rolling 5 now, right?
Yes, not 7, 5.
But I still get the -2.
Yes.
5 successes. So
Okay.
That's a net gain of 1. So we're still moving forward.
Still moving forward, closing the gap a little bit.
Trying to get the bolt in.
All right, so we're ready. The group kind of cutting off different routes has been noticed by the small figure, and you can see them caught in that crisis of decision. Are they going to dump their burden and try and escape alone, or are they going to try to continue on to escape with this thing that they have stolen? But before we resolve that question, we'll go back to George in the jungle.
George in the jungle.
So do I see them? Because I see the movement in the
just the movement, and mostly this is an auditory thing. You hear them, breaking cover and crashing. But there was already a screen of heavy greenery between you and them that they were using to hide behind. So.
Okay, so I'll hunch down, trying to move while keeping low, right, to keep a low profile. And I'll start moving as swiftly as I can in their direction, making sure I don't come into the field of fire of the soldiers, right? But the intent is to try to get closer and look at them. And I think I'll draw my Webley revolver in my other hand while keeping a grip on the rifle.
On the now empty elephant gun.
On the now empty elephant gun, right? So I don't have time to reload it, but I'll be ready in case I see one. And I'm just trying to get closer and spot one, but at the same time keeping low so I'm not that easy a target, right? So that's my intent, yeah.
All right, pursue. Well, let's see if you can track them through the jungle, survival.
Okay.
Now the left squad and the right squad, against all odds, Mallory has walked into the teeth of danger, and now he's pursuing danger through the jungle.
come on. Bump, one of the guys bumps the other. Come on, now let's go. They start trotting after him.
Yeah, come on.
Like diligent soldiers.
Yeah, we got. Well, we obviously look up to Mallory. So yeah, we're inspired. Let's get in there. Get after him, man.
Tanvir adjusts his fez and strides purposefully after you in your wake.
Mhm.
Looks like he's striding.
And from rolling 6 dice, I get the average 3 successes.
Woo. Okay. So you catch momentary glimpses, right? There's one over here and there's another one over there. And having pretty good experience with these people now, you're recognizing that it's an even mix of men and women. Mm-hmm. And you can't see them well enough to determine if that they're young or old or details like that. But definitely, there are 4 in this group, minus the one that you shot and very likely killed. And they're evenly split between men and women, and they are fanning out. So they're not running as a pack, as a cohesive unit. They are intentionally widening the distance between them. So very soon they'll be going off, perpendicular to your position.
So I will just pick one veering off to the side, to the right side, because I realized that by splitting up, they'll just lead us into, they can just double back and ambush us again. So I will just pick one and stick with that and see if I can get a bead on it to shoot it.
Right. So both sides are running through the jungle, and you and your support crew are running through the jungle. So we'll just forego the modifiers on the roll. Like the left squad, the right squad, and Mallory each roll your move. Right, so that's 4 dice for the squads.
Three.
Okay. Which means that one of the squads is falling behind. One of the pairs of 2 is having difficulty, coming in from their original position to catch up with George. So you're going in the direction that the left side squad was on, right? So it's easier for them to maintain pace. They're still a ways behind you, but they're within a earshot and occasional flashes of uniform through the shrubbery kind of thing. But the other squad is falling behind. Okay. Not enough to catch up with the people that you are pursuing, or the person that you are pursuing. You have a definite feeling that they are pulling ahead.
And still no clear target.
Right. Not a clear target at all yet. I mean, you could be firing into the trees if you like.
Yeah.
How hard could it be? Cover, move.
So is it worth pursuing and getting us out of position, but if we don't, then we still have hunters on our backs. But he is pulling ahead.
What about if we leave a couple of people behind the group that could shadow the group as they sort of return to their normal traveling, in case they come back, then we could ambush them coming back on us.
I think George at this point will shout out, stop pursuit, fall back and regroup, on our trail.
I hate this blasted jungle, Phineas.
Back in the hospital,
Oh,
it's evening, and it's been horribly hot all day, right? So you're just feeling like molten metal. And everything hurts. And all of the little injuries feel like they are not infected, and not really itchy, but you can feel each one of them, right? And every time you're about to drift off to sleep, somebody wakes you up to give you some medicine. And every time you're about to drift off to sleep after that, someone comes in to see if you're asleep, mostly by asking you if you're asleep.
yes, I am.
But now, in the evening, when the staff is going to be reduced and it will finally be quiet and it might be just a little bit cooler, two things happen. One, mosquitoes. Constant, whining, nearly invisible. Just that all the time. And then the local missionary shows up to tend to you and talk to you of the saving power of faith. But mostly, he's very curious about the cricket scores from back home.
It's been a wonderful year for cricket. Yes, it's fantastic.
You follow the game, do you?
Not really. Just you have a few matches here and there. It's a little boring after a while. Well, there's so many other things to do.
Now, this is where we discover that Proctor loves, and I mean loves, with a capital love, cricket.
Proctor with a 3 style points, Proctor?
That
Yes.
Proctor loves cricket. So the two of them get involved in a long, lengthy, and somewhat loud conversation about teams.
Here we go for a walk.
I mean,
You're going to go for a walk, some strenuous activity?
Not strenuous, just a slow little
We
walk.
could get him a wheelchair, I guess.
I mean, there's nothing like the sound of leather on
Yes.
willow.
Gamble could set him up
Oh.
with a wheelchair. And,
Yes, a wheelchair.
Music to my ears.
Gamble. Let's
cheer up, sir. The weather in Patagonia is much, much better than here. And of course, Proctor will be heading the Royal Patagonian cricket team. So he'll take care of that because I myself have no idea how to even play the game. So
elevation in Patagonia is higher, eh?
it's the latitude. It's much to the south, and so the climate improves markedly. But yes.
I mean, how many overs are they going to get at that altitude?
In that moment, hanging on that question, in the bed next to Lawrence's on the other side of the room, one of the surviving expedition members, right? His head levers off the pillow and his right arm shoots straight up in the air, and he cries out for the first time coherently, right? Not this mumbling or murmuring that they occasionally do that makes no sense, but he cries out very clearly in a normal tone of voice, full of fear. He cries out for help.
Oh.
While coughing.
He's wheezing. Help!
Again.
Help!
Because he hasn't really spoken in months.
Push me back. Come on.
I'm impressed with the sound effects, Anthony.
Yeah.
I'm going to have Gamble wheel me up as I'm trying to wheel myself through.
Of course. Yeah.
And being as tired as I am, I just kind of lean on his bed. Well,
He's
what is
wild-eyed and sweating and pale, and he's lost so much weight, but for the first time, lucid. weakly kind of paws at you and asks, where am I?
You're safe. You're in the hospital in Berlin. You're alive, mate.
Expedition.
There's another fellow here.
Only one, but we were 12.
I'm afraid so, old boy. But buck up. You like cricket, do you?
What?
Oh, never mind. Listen. He's not socially skilled, kids. Listen. So tell me, what happened?
It was horrible. It was a nightmare. It was death on 2 legs and 4 from the skies.
From the skies. Did you see? You see one of them?
He passes out.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. I shake him a little bit.
And then, the missionary's like, I say, this is really quite irregular. I wonder if we should, maybe call someone.
Oh, no, not now. Not now. It's okay. It's quite all right. I'm just kind of gently slapping the fellow in the face. Come on now. Come on.
The man's been unconscious for almost 2 months. I mean, surely we should tell someone. You really sure you should be slapping him like that?
There's Proctor. There's a nurse. There must be a nurse down the hall. Do inform her that one of the members of the expedition is awake. He might require some sort of medication.
All right. But meanwhile, back at the prow of the Epiphany.
Right there.
Oscar has readied his crossbow while navigating the treacherous deck. He's within the operational range of the crossbow. Darkness is applying a small penalty.
Of how much?
Of 2 dice.
So minus 2 dice.
Yeah.
So I'm rolling 6 dice.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. Oh, is that coughing I can hear from the hospital?
It's huge gouts of smoke leaving the engine room.
So I rolled 6 dice, and I have the average of 3 successes.
3 successes. Nicely done. All right, now the man is wearing armor, and this armor is up to the task of dealing with crossbow bolts, as we've discovered in the past. But you know that you hit the figure, and the figure goes over the side.
But
probably a controlled descent, and leaving the weapon behind.
Okay.
Well, the person rushes over. I grab the weapon, pick it up, and look down below.
Okay, and you can see the figure kind of sliding down the rounded hull, which is there on an angle, which is going to take him down into the torn up undergrowth of the crash site.
Good
so
shot.
He's accelerating rapidly, but he's holding his arm.
Oh, there's probably more of them, and so unzipping the case. First he's taking out this ridiculous weapon. You sure there's more of them, sir?
Good show,
holding it completely ridiculously,
Right. Bullets going one way and the gun going the other.
You're right, yeah.
It's possible there are more.
Well, what do you suppose all that was about? I can't imagine they even know how to use this. It's fascinating. Oh, wait, well, hold on for 1 second. He pulls out a piece of paper and so flushing the quarry across the deck to give Mr. Winegold the perfect shot. I dove out of the way at the last moment.
So as everyone else joins Percy there at the railing, this is when you see the next horrible situation. Coming out of the tree line is Anne Smith, the photographer. And the escaping reptile person will be headed right for her, and she doesn't see them.
Oh, crikey.
You know, she's wrestling with her camera equipment.
So, Oscar, can Oscar see this as well?
Absolutely, you're all there at the deck.
Is there a chance for another crossbow bolt?
Long range.
Long range.
With the darkness still.
First, yeah, I'm going to shove a shell right in this gun. Try to fish.
Grover yells out, "Oh dear, Miss Smith, look out!
Would there
one of
be?
the reptile men."
Is there a chance that it would take 2 rounds for him to get to her?
Oh yes, it will definitely take time.
Well, I was just thinking about maybe taking aim.
Yeah.
To improve my chances.
Yeah, that could happen. That would be good. That'd be right on.
Waiting to the last moment, just before gets to our friend.
Right.
Well, they're really close together. That's good.
Yeah.
Right, so this has been a terrible, confluence of events, suitable for someone who attracts such strange events. So we're going to give 2 style points to Oscar for.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
2 style points. I have a grand total of 3 now. Might be using those.
All right. So the reptile person slides down off the edge of the Epiphany, leaps down into quietly into the underbrush, and begins making a beeline straight for Anne's position. Anne is wrestling with her photographic equipment, and she looks pretty upset. She must have been trying to take night shots of the Epiphany in its wrecked state, and she's been having camera troubles since the crash. Anyway, so she seems pretty unhappy about everything. So she's very much in her own world and not seeing the small figure rushing toward her very quietly, while Oscar tracks it through the darkness with his crossbow. Okay. So aiming adds another die to the shot.
Okay. I'll do that. So that's a total of 7 because it's minus the 2 for the darkness. And I'm going to spend all of my style. Seven successes.
Oh.
Boy. So.
Out of 10 dice.
A crossbow. Well, this is a fatality. So where did Oscar shoot him?
Through the neck.
All right.
It's found a fleshy part rather than hitting the armor.
So the body continues to run for a few more steps, and finally noticing him, Grover's yelling out to her. Her head comes up, right? She's talking to herself. She's cursing something under her breath in a very unladylike fashion. So she's kind of like trying to focus on Grover's voice when she sees the figure running at her, right? And in her fit of pique, hauls off, holding the long legs of the ruined camera, right? She hauls off, swings it around her head, and just kapow, slams into the body of the already dead reptile guy. The camera explodes around him, and he falls over to the side and twitches once.
Precisely at that second that Percy manages to finally get the shell in and fire the gun, well over their heads at the treetop. Boom! This loud boom, and the birds flying out of the trees. Completely ineffectually and too late, but just as a punctuation mark.
You got it. Ideal.
Knocking himself over practically.
That's a style point for Percy. All right.
Woohoo!
So, after the fire crew deals with the fire and the damage is assessed, after the body is reclaimed, after Anne is recovered, right, after Grover is able to provide everyone with tea and biscuits and whatever else that they like. Right.
Crumpets.
Crumpets, it must be crumpets. It can't be anything else but crumpets. What is it that the crew of the Epiphany would like to do?
Well, I think actually now that we know that these people are trying to steal our weapons, I think we should secure all weapons as a priority. Also, I'm thinking they obviously must have set fire to the engine room to create a diversion. So yeah, better security. We need better people on watch, or better organized.
All right.
Don't just trouble me, Mr. Winegold.
What's that?
Well, how do they know? I mean, these natives. How do they know what to go steal?
That is a good question.
I mean, the gun was in a case. It wasn't just out there. So I mean, they've seen them, but they clearly knew what to steal. And how did they know? How did they know the engine room was important?
It's very
You
odd.
think that they just chose it because it's a central location? I mean, look at them; they're quite primitive. I mean, I've written extensively about them.
Well, maybe
I practically know all about them now.
Maybe they snuck in through the stacks. We don't know. Maybe this was.
It could be all of. Yeah, it could be a coincidence. Perhaps they've seen us use our weapons. Perhaps they decided that perhaps the weapons would be useful for them. I don't know. Perhaps they've picked up these things very quickly. They may be primitive, but it doesn't mean to say they're not. Yeah,
Quite so,
intelligent.
But still, they saw it through in the case even. They wouldn't know. And I say,
yeah, but one can open a case.
Yeah, but he didn't. Listen, he didn't. It was in the case. Listen, both of you, I've written extensively. I've written many, many stories. There are no such things as coincidences.
As you say.
Okay.
As an author, I understand these things.
Well,
I'm a reporter.
Okay, let's look at this scientifically then, shall we? Let's say that they know what they're looking for. How does that change what decisions we make? We have to secure the weapons now. They know. At least we definitely know that they understand what those weapons are, in a case or not in a case. So yes, they are quick to learn, obviously.
So we've determined that, and we're not going to change anything we're doing. That's bloody boring. And he whacks his pad down, and he storms out of the room.
Would you care for some tea, sir? Perhaps to calm you down.
Grabs a crumpet.
These artistic types, they're just such drama queens.
So new security procedures are implemented. The weapons are kept under a greatest security. So with the understaffed situation of the Epiphany, because so many people went to Belim to bring back supplies and materials, tools and things, the next few days passes pretty awkwardly as people have to stay up. They're working double or triple shifts, right? And what I would like from Oscar is a resilience roll, double his body. What kind of condition is Oscar, who's kind of burning the candle at both ends? He's overseeing the redesign to produce the skiffs and having to coordinate as leader, security, and whatnot. So how is Oscar doing by the time Mallory and his crew make it into camp?
3 successes.
All right.
So
Beery-eyed, but bearing up stiff upper lip and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So Mallory had quite a successful journey, which of course includes the intelligence gathered about the pursuers. And so it comes out of the jungle or out of the rainforest in pretty good shape, all things considered, for how far his small band had to travel without losing anyone, without anyone being poisoned, and comes across a very tired-looking set of patrolmen who are, walking a now clearly demarcated site, a controlled zone. The undergrowth has been beaten back, and light posts have been hung, and this sort of stuff, so that there's a greater amount of light, and there's a clear perimeter around the wreck. And there's signs of work being done on the skiffs.
So, hail the ship, and so that they don't shoot us when we approach. And
You're met with this look of horror, right? Because this large contingent, Burke and his man, and two other hunters and their men, and Jean-Claude and his assistants and bearers, and all these people went, and like 6 guys come back.
Hail the ship. Well, it looks like you certainly have things under control. Where's what do we call Oscar? Do we call him professor or doctor or just
old Oscar? Captain, my captain?
I guess professor.
Professor, yes. Where's Professor Winegold? Has the ship been attacked?
Oh, yes, it has. As Percy says, he's sitting there with his legs draped over with a gun across his lap, and the jungle had taken its toll.
Thank God you're back, thank God you're back, Mallory. Things haven't been easy here. I've been, juggling so many things. Getting the skiffs ready and putting out fires, literally defending attacks, and these natives are very ingenious. So
yes,
thank God you're back.
We gathered. We would hoped they'd gone away once the ship crashed, but it seems they followed us all the way to Belém as well. That's why I decided to double back and reinforce the defenses of the ship. And so I bring them up to speed on Garibaldi's recovery, and that's basically why we're back to provide.
He's not dead.
No, he's recuperating at the hospital. Although
never mind.
Some
crossing out the part of. So the chapter of the brave, Mr. Garibaldi's life.
So he has enough security back in town now that the garrison has been alerted to these reptile people, but we thought that the ship being undefended, I mustered what troops I could get on such short notice. We have some volunteers here, Phillips and his men, and glad to see everyone here is okay.
We're surviving. We're surviving under extreme pressure.
How's our progress on the skiffs?
Well, this is 6 days, right? Well, 7 days. It's 7 days. So this is the end of the proof of concept. This is the point where Oscar is certain he can do it. He just has to actually do it. And now that everyone's back, it should be possible for him to complete the next round, or the construction phase of turning these longboats into mobile, gravity-repelling devices. But no work has been able to be done on the design of the electric harpoon weapon system. All right, so you can imagine that the boats have all been laid out in order so they can be easily accessed, and a lot of the equipment has been pulled out of the engine room so that it can be assessed for whether it works or whether it doesn't work, and sized, and people are at work trying to figure out how to fit, like how to cut wood to actually hold the batteries and that sort of stuff, and how the steering mechanism is going to work. So all this stuff is underway, but nothing has actually been built.
Okay. I think Oscar's going to need some rest at this point, and then I think the next day he can start work coordinating the build.
Right on. Okay. Then, that construction, as an estimate, should take about a week. Which means there would be time to do some surveying of the region, right? If you're going to be going up the rivers, which will be the only places clear enough to get, these longboats through, especially with all these dangerous jungle animals. Then having an idea of where the river meanders may be helpful.
And I suppose we might take the opportunity to search for tracks, right? Are the tracks coming down the river, following the river as well, or are they coming through a different direction or something? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. See if these interlopers have left any tracks. So I imagine this is something that would fall to George Mallory to organize and recruit associates for.
I'd expect Tanvir would be going with him, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He must, yes.
So just our sort of jolly, isn't it, sir? A little trip up river, do a little bit of recon. Just our bag.
So we must be careful of we have some of those savages on our backs. There's bound to be more here in the jungle. So we must be.
They'll be
careful.
fine. We've faced savages before. We can face these.
So
I'm being blasé.
Yeah. So weapons at the ready, I guess. We'll take the opportunity to reconnoiter the area.
All right. Who do you want to take with you other than Tanvir? Just Tanvir, the two of you?
I reckon that Phillips.
If you're blasé and you're overconfident?
Yeah. I reckon that Phillips would be up for it. From the men.
Sure.
Is it Phillips?
All right. So Phillips. So there's three of you. Phillips, the sharp-eyed Phillips.
That's true.
George and Tanvir. So we have 2 style points to George Mallory, 1 to Tanvir Singh.
Excellent.
All right.
So how do we handle that? Survival?
This falls into the purview of survival, this navigation and all that stuff. So data points that you have, of course, the coordinates where you crashed. And you have fairly decent charts of the coastline. But of course, the deeper you go into the rainforest, the less useful the charts become. I might as well say, here be dragons, right? So also, you have a bearing for the mysterious green light, which presumably is the direction you're going to need to travel.
Yeah.
But we don't have a distance, or we don't have a range on that or anything. Now, if you'll recall, compasses were not working.
Oh yeah.
That is true.
But now they are.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Well. Do I recall when the compasses ceased to work properly?
When it was noticed, when it was brought to your attention, was when the green light was flaring on the horizon.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll have to inform Professor Winegold. He might be able to make something of that. Keeping an eye on a compass might be a good idea. It'll give us an indication of when, at least when the large flying dinosaur is nearby. And the only other thing I was going to say was we do have the references of the ravings of St. John Smythe, but I don't know how useful those are going to be. River of the Gods, White Rock Teeth, through the gorge, into the caverns of the mother, and under the fiery eyes go. Yeah, sounds like the description of a river, basically, which is what we're checking it out. So,
right.
Survival
So
roll, I suppose.
Your first survival roll is to see if you can find the river in a way that lets you find your way back.
So that is only 2 successes, though. Slightly below average. Yeah.
Those are successes. So it takes a little bit longer than you would expect. The lay of the land is sort of unpredictable, and what you expect it to do to move you toward a river that you know is there just because you've seen it on a map, it throws you off a little bit. And so later in the afternoon than you'd like, you reach the riverbank. So this is quite a hike, right? People are hot, they're sweating, people are getting dehydrated. Water is always an issue, keeping the water clean that you're carrying with you. There's no guarantee that the river water is potable at all, right? And when you reach the riverbank, there is a large broken tree, right, which has recently been broken. Still, you can still smell the sap of it. And next to it is a pile of droppings, almost the height of a man, which has a British soldier's boot sticking out of it.
Tanvir looks at it and says, well, that's a big pile of crap.
That it is. But notice the boot. So this seems to be a clear indicator that our large flying reptile flew in this direction. So at least it seems to be yet another point of confirmation that we are headed in the right direction.
That'd be Walters. He never did polish his shoes well. You can see the scuffs right here.
When you say this is a large pile of manure, is this like, is there any way to know that that's definitely come from the flying reptile?
It's in an amount that boggles the mind, really.
Yeah.
And the boot is like something, somebody ate the boot, right? The guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay. Oh.
It's also unrecognizable, even if it were a more realistic size. It's like, what kind of creature leaves spoor, this behind. So. Now the river is quite wide, and at this close to the coastline, quite slow moving, but you can see definite signs of predatory wildlife, right? You found areas where they wait for other animals to come drink and of course there's the large lizards, kind of lolling on the riverbeds, and whatever they might be, crocodiles or alligators or
one of those, yeah.
One of those things.
I'm sure Professor Winegold can point out the differences, but the point is we don't get near those. Well, I guess we'll have to be on lookout for all sorts of predators along the riverbank, and
the next interesting item about the river is that meander it does. Right? Even where you're standing close to its banks, you can see how it hooks and curves and doubles back and creates little islands. And it will be quite difficult, if you were paddling up it, it'd be quite difficult to even recognize when you're on the main river itself. It'd be very easy to get turned off into a minor tributary, or obviously it has a current, it has a direction. You're not going to wind up going in the wrong direction, but you might wind up in another river entirely. And it does not go in anything resembling a straight line.
But at least there's no trees on the way, so if we can
it
get
is quite wide. Yep.
Yeah, if we can get those skiffs to work, then we should be able to make good speed. Almost like traveling on a road.
Well said.
Okay.
So do you press on or do you return? Do you stay out for the night to see if you can catch another glimpse of the green glow? Buddy doesn't like that suggestion. She thinks that's madness.
Yeah.
She's saying, don't.
Tanvir's up for it. This will be fun. It'll be fine, Mallory. Don't worry about it.
Could go wrong. Have we spotted any sign of the reptile men?
Give me a survival roll and we'll find out.
Ooh.
That is 4 successes, which is not bad at all.
And we will just wait for a moment to see whether 4 successes works.
Suspense.
Dun, dun, dun.
With a guy dangling off of the...
Yeah, that's a great picture of Oscar Winegold trying to navigate across the deck of the...
Yeah.
From the crane,
Epiphany.
from when he was on the crane became loose, right? It was torn off the ship, so he was hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, that's perfect, actually, isn't it? Sums up our antics.
Yeah, I don't know what else we could do here. It's a matter of gathering supplies and enough time for the...
Well, it's going to be another week till the skiffs are ready, and then we have Lawrence to worry about.
4 successes for the tracking roll. Okay. So there are intermittent traces that cross your path, brought about. It seems like they're not going in a straight line, and they have a group, maybe 6 strong, maybe. It could be more, though. They could be playing tracker games, right? But maybe 6 of them, and they seem to be moving from food source to food source rather than from point A to point B. Like a hunter-gatherer kind of methodology. Also suggesting that they might not even suspect that there would be pursuit. They don't seem to be having traveled in any great rush. But with 4 successes, I will say that Mallory would be beginning to suspect that they didn't reach the river. Like you may have passed them.
Okay.
Maybe.
That is interesting, because in that case, we could set up an ambush with them. Then again, it's 6-3, so we'd be outnumbered.
Also, I was going to suggest we do need to get up a tree or something to keep ourselves safe from most predators. If we're going to stay the night. Plus, we'll have a better view up there. Good place for an ambush. And, if I might say so, as disagreeable as it is, the closer we stay to this pile of spoor, the better. I mean, nothing in its right mind is going to want to be around here.
Makes sense.
And it smells fantastic.
I bet it does.
Most sane animals don't want to be anywhere near a predator's domain.
Well, there's only 6 of them and 3 of us, but we have firearms, so, I'm sure it'd be advantages clearly to us. Yeah. So we might try to set up an ambush when they return to, because they're probably headed this way, right? If they have a campsite or something is what I'd like to see if we can find. I mean, they'll probably head back to the river to get water and stuff like that. So, this might not be, this try to identify what they might be using as some sort of, you said they're going from food source to food source. So maybe, they maybe said they have some sort of, temporary encampment around. So yeah, we might try to set up an ambush. That sounds like a good idea. Because what could go wrong is 3 against 3 of us and 6 of them. We clearly have the advantage.
Right.
With our firearms.
Now this is obviously rooted deeply in the blasé nature of Tanvir Singh.
And the overconfidence.
The overconfident nature of George Mallory. So, Phillips, could I have an intelligence roll from you?
Right.
This would be 4 dice.
Let's see.
Oh, sorry, I lied. This would be 6
Let's
dice.
see if we can talk some sense into them.
Let's see. All right.
A style point for each of Tanvir and Mallory.
Well, 2 successes.
2 successes. Not great, but not terrible either. It occurs to Phillips that they might not be going home.
Exactly. I know that was so. They maybe. I don't think they're returning.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's possible they could be just staying in the area. It's possible they could be going someplace else. I don't know.
Perhaps
They
they're just
say
going to
they
stay.
probably know much about tracking as you do, if not more.
Perhaps they're just going to stay close to where we are.
yeah, that makes sense.
They do seem kind of desperate to get whatever it is that we have, or to stop us.
They
They're
obviously,
going to give up that early.
perhaps they just perceive us as a threat to be eliminated.
Yeah, it might be. I think you might have a point there, Phillips. If their mission isn't complete, then they won't be returning home anytime soon. And I suppose they might have enough water to hold out for a few days. So perhaps this isn't the wisest course of action.
Also, if you want to set up an ambush, just set it up at the ship itself.
Yes. Perhaps we should fall back to the ship and not split our forces anymore in case there's another attack. Good
As much
man,
as I like
Phillips.
to
Good
sleep
idea.
next to this pile of
Of manure. Yeah. Good show, Phillips. Let's fall back to the ship.
All right. Okay. Can I have a survival check for the trip home? Because you're not the only thing in these woods. He said menacingly.
4 successes out of 6 dice.
Was that 4?
Yes, sir.
4?
4.
All right. Well, you have the opportunity to bag some game, so there can be some fresh meat, and that's always nice. But more importantly, you come across some of their tracks that you had missed the first time through, and they were harvesting. There's signs of them harvesting some moss or some bark or something like that, and some fungus and some different types of blossom. And there is a scent from these which puts George in mind of the toxin that he's so intimately familiar with, having had to conduct first aid on John St. John Smythe the first time.
Oh, this is good. This is good. Let's take. Is there more of that, or did they scrape?
Yeah,
off
there's more
everything?
of everything.
Yeah. So I'll take some samples to take back to Professor Winegold. Maybe he can make some sense out of them, or even aid Garibaldi in perfecting his antidote, if he has the original materials to work with. So
You're not planning on using it, though, sir, are you?
No. Put on gloves and let's be careful handling these. We don't really know how to mix them or anything, but
clasp on the shoulders. We are British after all.
But yes, but Garibaldi will help.
Man of honor.
Yeah. So very carefully with gloves on, we'll take some of the samples, and we don't know if they need to boil them or mix them or whatever it is, but at least if Garibaldi has the raw ingredients, he might be able to figure out what's going on here.
So you make your way back to the Epiphany, where, of course, the day of rest is coming to an end. And, once again, you're faced with the very wan and tired faces of the men who've been doing double duty, doing their own work, but also doing security watches. So the heat, the work, the stress is really beginning to take its toll, right? And plus, the ship being canted on an angle makes everything about navigating it difficult. Right? Mm-hmm. So what is really needed, Tanvir says, is something to elevate the mood.
Okay.
What we need is some guard dogs, man. That's exactly what we need.
Yeah, she's just sitting here holding my hand, and she missed me.
I bet.
Meanwhile, the guard dog is passed out on the sofa.
Yeah. Something to elevate the mood.
First, you got to shout at Tanvir. There's not much gin. I checked.
What about?
He seems taken aback.
one thing, Winegold forgot the pack.
What about sending a hunter out to get some fresh meat?
Well, we did get some, right? Didn't we? We did get some fresh meat, so that's a good idea. With the fresh meat we got, we could set up a fire outside and cook it, right, like a barbecue.
Barbecue,
yeah.
Right? So let's see how Mallory can do with this situation. He's got everybody's spirits to lift. Only he is having a positive experience so far, right?
Yeah.
Oscar has been beset upon, and his two assistants are off in a foreign city, and people are dying and being kidnapped, and he's had to kill somebody like 3 times now in the last week, and
but we have a secret weapon with us. We have Jean-Claude, who can cook this meat.
Yeah, but he's in Berlin.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, Jean-Claude Willis. Oh, now that we
Yeah.
need him. Yes.
Now that we need him, he's not here.
And I have no idea where he hides his liquor. I've looked and looked and looked. That man doesn't have any, or is a wizard in terms of hiding it. And the cooking sherry is awful. Don't try that.
I'm sure Grover has some idea of how to prepare, decent food for for this company.
Maybe.
And yeah, at least he knows.
He is, of course.
At least he has some spices or something, secreted away, I suppose.
He's a connoisseur of fine things. But this will really fall to Mallory's adroit social handling, his diplomatic nature in bringing people together, avoiding difficult topics, supporting positive topics, and rebuilding morale.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. As the food is cooking and plates are being shared, I think George will give a rousing speech on the state of the expedition and how, the fall of the Epiphany has been a definite setback, and we've encountered dangers and lost part of our crew, but the spirit of adventure and discovery and perseverance is still with us, and we are now getting ahead of the challenges before us. The reptile men have been beaten back. We have gained, reinforcements and preparing supplies from Belém. We'll soon have the most cutting edge technology with the skiffs, and that'll enable us to make our way through the river. And, there's only glory and fame ahead. We have already accomplished the impossible, established records of traveling through the air on this wondrous airship, and now stand on the brink of the next leg of our epic journey of discovery and blah, 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 right? So.
All right. That's pretty fantastic. That's worth 2 bonus dice.
Nice.
Here we go. My diplomacy is not so hot, but it's there. Yeah, so 3 plus 2 extra. I'm going to throw in 1 style because why not? And let's see where that takes us to. Not as rousing a speech as I would have thought, but people seem to be more tired than expected, and that's only 1 success on 6 dice. Yeah, 6 dice. People are falling asleep, right? They're exhausted. The food is good, right? So they're just like collapsing as George launches into this long-winded speech, right? falls mostly flat.
He's talking again. God, this bloke never shuts up, does he?
Oh, no, I was listening to it while I was upstairs. It was brilliant. That was a great speech.
That was the speech in his mind. The one that came out, maybe not so much. Or maybe it was the audience.
Boy.
What I had in mind was that for every 2 successes, you'd be able to adjust their mood, like on the reaction table sort of thing. Getting only 1 success, what you have done is prevented a further slide into despair.
Okay, that's pretty good.
It wasn't, you still were successful in some way. You just didn't improve your situation, but you prevented it from degenerating. And I think that's important too.
That counts, right? It didn't completely
totally
fail,
counts.
But
Boy, this Mallory guy likes the sound of his own voice.
Yes, he does. So,
All right.
Fatigued by the jungle, Mallory's attempt at a rousing speech fell flat as the men
are mostly keeling over, sated from the feast.
First, he was going to take small ships of the cooking wine.
But Anne Smith did, using one of her backup cameras, manage to get a photograph of you in the jungle with the wreck in the background, surrounded by attentive listeners. So at least the photographic evidence looks like it was a rousing speech.
Awesome.
Probably because she's behind the listeners. All right. Now, as we wind down, because I'm definitely being petitioned by various four-footed creatures to do something different. But as we wind down, so full bellies, right? Made to feel like they're doing something important. The day shift turns in, and the night shift stays up. Right? And this is now several days of this. And there's really starting to show signs of wear. Of course, the fresh meat, the barbecue, the camaraderie, this all helped. But who among you, Oscar and George, is going to stay up for the night shift?
Maybe it's Oscar, because George, made his way there and back today. So it's been a long day for George and Tanvir, right? And Phillips.
Yeah, George is exhausted. All right, so George turns in. Okay. Oscar's up working on something and in a supervisory capacity. Okay. All right. George, Mallory. On your deck of the ship, we have Percy's quarters, we have Anne's quarters, we have Burke's quarters. This is the deck, maybe right below Oscar's, right? So you can, as you turn in, you can hear him pacing or something upstairs, or someone pacing upstairs. And when you enter the room, the porthole is open.
Mm.
There's a muddy footprint on your pillow. A small little footprint.
Yeah. So I'll draw my Webley revolver and take a look around the room to see what's going on, but I don't make a sound yet.
Okay. That would be your stealth.
Your theoretical stealth.
Theoretically making no sound.
But at least not crying out, right, is my point. I'm not going to...
It's a holdover from the Redcoat days. So here I am, old boy.
There is in the air like a scent of the rainforest, like you'd expect if you had come in and divested yourself of your clothes and you walked out and came back in, you smell the forest on the clothes. Someone has definitely been in here, but they're not in here now. The room isn't large enough, nor does it have hiding places. It's designed like a ship. It has storage spaces underneath your bunk and that kind of stuff.
So, if there doesn't seem to be anybody in the room with me, I'll just go over to the window and carefully peek out, right? And see, make sure nobody's there. And, if I don't catch a glimpse of anybody fleeing into the woods or anything like that, then I'll just
now the footprint was angled into the room, not out of the room.
Yeah.
So
but still,
it's
always it's always worth a look, right? So I close the porthole and look for more tracks. Are they leaving the? Are there any more tracks visible? on the floor, on the...
Well, let's find out with your perception.
Perception is 6. Where's my dice? Here we go. That'd be the average of 3 successes.
That's pretty good. There's the faintest scuff just outside your stateroom door, heading toward, the gangway, the stairs up to the next level.
So I'll just go and again, as silently as I can muster, keep following the tracks, right?
Okay. Going up one level, this is where the other staterooms are. Garibaldi's up here. This is where Grover's and the other servant types have their lodgings. Jean-Claude's lodgings up here. This kind of thing. And there's an access port on this level into the ship's non-essential, let's say, services, right? So the communications gear, lights, oil storage for the lanterns, drinking water, that kind of stuff.
I'll definitely head in that direction then. Who else would be here again? This is the living quarters, and
yeah, Oscar, his quarters are on this deck, and Lawrence's quarters are on this deck.
Okay, so I'll knock softly on Oscar's door while keeping an eye on the door to the storage facility.
From your vantage point, it's not clear if that door is open or not. It's heavily shadowed, but that could just be a trick of the light. But Oscar, there's a knock on your door.
What? What's this? What's going on? Come in, enter.
So I'll open the door slightly. I'm just not even looking. I'm just keeping my eye on the doorway. I'll say, Oscar, get your crossbow. I think there's some more intruders into the stores. I'm going to go after them. And then I start heading off into a direction of the doorway.
I grab my bow and head out.
Okay. So the two of you are moving your way down the hallway, and then you can definitely hear it. Something like a chair, right, or a box or something being dragged across the floor, and then someone stepping up on it from inside one of these maintenance or machine rooms.
Do we have power to the ship? Is there any level of power that has been restored? No.
No, there's just kerosene lanterns and the like as the backup system.
Right.
Damn, it's no power.
So I'll grab one of the kerosene lamps off the hook and carry it with me so that I can, gun in hand and lamp to see if I can catch it.
So they're very formal looking, right? It's a glass base with a small metal filament and then a tall glass chimney with a reflecting panel, so it's not blinding you as you hold it.
Excellent.
Right. And so you enter into the room, and there's the large metal water tank. It says, warning, potable water. Right. And standing, on tiptoe, right, reaching up with hands over the lip of the water tank is, of course, one of your reptilian adversaries, right? You can see that as they're reaching up, their armor has pulled up. You can see not just tattooed on arms, right? But this person is tattooed around their midriff, and their legs show tattooing, and the skin is quite withered and old, like this is one savvy, older warrior. And there's wisps of gray hair coming out of the back of the reptilian helm, right? As they reach up into the water supply.
What's he doing with the water?
So I'll yell at him, hey you, stop, and see what they do.
Okay. You hear the sound of tinkling water. He shoots you a look over his shoulder, but he doesn't cease this action.
So he's doing something,
Poison.
but he's just
Okay.
hanging.
Poison the
So
water.
I holster the gun. I go over and what I want to do is grab a leg and yank him down to the floor. Yeah.
All right.
See if I can smack him down to the ground.
Oscar, you want to do anything?
Well, I'm just going to close the distance as well, and as George grabs this person and throws him on the floor, I'm just going to hold my crossbow over them.
As Overwatch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, try and get him, Mr. Mallory. This is a brawl attack.
This is a brawl attack.
If you can,
Mhm.
double his strength, you can pin him or get him in a grapple. But otherwise, what we're looking for is just to be able to secure him or throw him.
Yeah, I just want to pull him down and see if I can immobilize him, right, or in some way. I'm just wary of the spikes because I don't want to get poisoned yet again.
That's right. So that's going to apply a 2-die penalty to your brawl because of that very real threat.
Yes, yes. And so to mitigate that, I will spend 2 style to overcome that dice penalty. So the dice penalty is I just take 2 dice of my pool, right? Or is it? Yeah, okay.
It's not a difficulty, it's a penalty.
Yeah. So I'll pay the penalty with my style dice. And so I am rolling a straight 6 dice, and that is a total of, just 2 successes.
All right. And so, as George's nostrils are filled with that familiar and bitter scent of the toxin, as he grabs the guy, he realizes that the water has been poisoned. As he has the legs of the old reptile warrior who's got his hand in the tank. And we cut away back to Belim. The survivor is detailing his story to Lawrence Garibaldi, and across town in the luxurious chamber of John St. John Smythe, he comes to also with a shouted no, and he says, "Don't drink it."
Nice.
And this ends the session of
The
Sky is
no limit.
Awesome.
One day we'll get that in sync.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Excellent. Brilliant.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My pleasure. All right, so you've all shown up, so you obtain an experience point for doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any peril?
Constant
there was.
peril.
Instant peril.
Constant peril.
Yeah, they never let up. Yeah.
All right, so that's
I
two.
never was really in that I wasn't in that much peril.
That's kind of true for Garibaldi.
Outside of being, having to listen to that damn cricket discourse, but although
you were put in a position to possibly compromise your healing.
it's true. It's true.
But you stuck to your guns, so you're okay there. So then we have learning, wisdom in this game.
Well, I think we've learned the source of the poison, right? And we've procured the materials. Now, if we can get those to Garibaldi, I think that gives us a leg up on the whole poison situation. So I think just learning the plant that actually creates the poison, I think that counts for some learning.
Okay, I agree. Anything else?
I learned it's essential to be able to control the narrative. And if you're that beat up, you simply can't control the narrative.
Interesting.
Dirty bastard, as
Politically
Archibald
speaking,
Speranza.
yeah.
I think we learned something about the reptilian natives, that they are not just savages, that they have intelligence, and they're purposely working against us.
Right.
I think we also learned that the river is a viable way to travel towards our goal.
True.
We learned that the flying dinosaurs do an enormous amount of manure.
Which may be less useful overall than some of the other things, but
That
true
we've
enough.
learned. Yeah.
We should have brought the gardening society with us.
Yeah, it's good for the roses.
I do think it's an important point that Garibaldi has noticed, that he has been used as a political tool by credenza. Right. This is.
Yeah.
I mean, how would this benefit his military career? It can't. Right. So he's playing some other kind of game. So yeah, definitely learning points all around. Okay, and of course, we are now a well-oiled role-playing machine, and people are easily able to jump back and forth between our different main and secondary and even tertiary characters. So the role-playing point.
Wow, that's 5
This
points.
concludes the experience portion of your flight. All right. Any final comments before we go?
Well, it's just a wasted opportunity there for Jean-Claude to shine, but it can't be helped. So, you know, it is what it is. Yeah.
How do you think? How well do you think Lawrence will get by the time we are ready to move?
He is healing at the normal hospital rate.
It's probably 10 days, because by the time the skiffs are finished, we hiked 3 days to get to Belém. So let's take those off. But then it was the rest of the week is like 4 days, and the following week to prepare the skiffs is at least, 11 days? So he'll get at least 11 days of rest. So
normal hospital rate is standard healing, or is it twice healing? Or?
I forget.
You would normally heal 1 lethal per week. Right. But you're going to heal at half of.
Okay, yeah, so okay, awesome. Wonderful. That's what I thought. Just double checking. Okay, yeah, you guys take as much time as you want. Of course, no, that's not good, because we'll get scoops. This is awful.
Yeah.
But hey, the skiffs will make up for the lost time, and everything will be fine, because, you know, we've got this.
Does anyone have any speculation about the motivations of the opposition?
Ooh.
Well, the reptile men is difficult to determine, because their initial objective we took to be the destruction of the ship, in the sense that maybe it was some sort of rival god, which is what I was thinking originally, and that's why I thought, well, the ship has crashed, so they're going to leave the ship alone, right? And that's why we didn't really get too concerned about going off to Belém. It's like, it'll be fine. You know, the ship is down. The natives think they've defeated us, right? But they've been persisting in that, and they've also followed us to Belém. So it's specifically against us. So, you know, I don't know how much of that is reflection of we've already hurt them, and we've already hurt their flying reptile, or if it's somebody that we know who's trying to stop us. So that front is confusing to me at this point. I'm not really sure what's going on.
I'm more thinking that they've allied themselves, or they with somebody that's been able to influence them specifically against us. That's my suspicion that might be happening. Because their tactics seem to have changed somewhat, or they seem a lot more directed. You know, things that they're smart, but things they couldn't possibly know, or it'd be very difficult for them to know. At least that's what Percy thinks. And listen, if it's not dramatic, it can't be true.
Quite.
There you go. All right. Well, those are good speculations. And thanks again for playing yet another session of Leagues of Adventure in our specific campaign, The Sky is No Limit. And I'll return everything back over to Robin.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you, guys, for another great session. And thanks everyone out there who might be watching. And I know that it goes on to our Facebook page and people catch up with it later in the week. So, yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. And we'll see you in the next session. Cheerio.